All right, so what I'm going to do now is run through a very basic explanation of the sales success formula, and later on during today's seminar I'm going to go into more depth into each of these key factors, but just give you an overview now just to get a sense of how to overcome those niggling little objections that come up in your everyday sales situations. Now, how I come up with this formula was I conducted a survey. I conducted a survey of quite a large number of small business owners and was asking them, well, my intention was to find out what's the number one objection they come up with. What was the number one thing that comes up or blocks them from producing the results that they want to produce in their business when it comes to selling? And the survey was predictable, or the results were predictable, in that price and time were the two key objections. In fact, price by about 90%, and time was the remaining sort of 8% with the two other odds and sods floating in there as well. Okay. So if you're not savvy with maths, don't stress. It's a very simple formula, even though it looks complicated. We've got these little brackets there and the algebra style from grade 10 and grade 11 maths. But a very simple formula, and it's based on a leverage factor, or a leverage system. Okay. So here we've got R plus C plus M plus V. I know it sounds complicated. R equals relationship. Okay. So now our intention in this particular formula is to give weight to each of these key factors. Okay? Obviously, the more weight that we have in each of these factors, the more price, or the higher price we can charge in our small business. Obviously, more weight increases the leverage point and moves up there. And later on, I'm going to show you some broken models and also some fairly effective models when it comes to the sales success formula. So getting back to the formula, R is relationship. So how well do you build relationships with your clients? What's the rapport that you build? How strong is that rapport? Do you continually build rapport throughout the sales process, or is it a sort of just enough to get through to the next step, or just enough to make the sale? Okay. Do you build trust? Okay. Is there trust in the relationships that you build with your prospective clients? Okay. So that's relationship, and again, like I said, I'm going to spend a lot more time in the future, later on today, going into more depth. C is credibility. Okay, how much credibility do you build with your clients? Not just credibility with you personally, but credibility as a company. And is that credibility consistent? I see a lot of businesses spend a lot of money on marketing, branding, they get their communications accurate, and they perceive or portray this credible image out there in the marketplace. But then there's an inconsistency between the sales professional and the corporate image or the brand that's communicated via their marketing material. So one thing you've got to make sure of is the credibility of the salesperson a match to the credibility of the company itself? Okay. Credibility also comes in other forms. It comes in the form of testimonials, product specifications, case studies, anything that social proof, and also sales professionalism. And there's three key characteristics to credibility, which I'm going to again speak about a little bit later on. I've put these in brackets because without relationship and credibility, you can't move forward. There's no point in moving on to the next step. So those two key factors needs to be, if you remember grade 10 maths, where you do your brackets first. I don't know whether anyone remembers the formulas. Elliot remembers. The brackets first, so your relationship plus credibility needs to go together before you move on to the next part of the equation, or the next part of the formula. M stands for motivation. What are the motivating factors? What are the intrinsic motivators? And there's really only two intrinsic motivators that drive human behaviour. One is pain and one is pleasure. So what are the pains that your customers have, and how does your product or service alleviate that pain? Okay? And in this motivation aspect, this is where you're asking those qualifying questions. This is where you're really distinguishing and determining what pain can I alleviate with my product or service. And then you've got pleasure. So what are the key benefits? What are the benefits that they're looking for? Not necessarily the benefits you think they want, but what are the benefits that actually motivate them to buy your product or service? All right, and again, we'll spend some more time on that a little bit later on. And V is for value. Now, once you've built relationship, you've established credibility, you've distinguished or determined their motivations. Oh, and by the way, just going back to motivation, motivation also is what I call internal motivation. That is with the sales professionals, or you as a business owner. How motivated are you to sell the product or service? How motivated are you to be a sales professional? So there's not just the motivation from a customer's perspective, but there's the motivation component from you as a salesperson. How much do you inspire and lead your customers through the sales process? As I said, V is for value. Once you've established your relationship, credibility and motivation, then now it's time to demonstrate the value of your product or service. You know, what are the FABs, the features, advantages and benefits of your product, and what are the FABs of your business? You know, I see it time and time again where business owners will focus specifically on the product but not actually differentiate themselves as a business or an organisation to their competitors. So value here is also your opportunity to differentiate yourself from your competition. What value do you bring as a business or as a sales professional as opposed to your competitors? Okay. Now, if your relationship, credibility, motivation and value outweigh the price or are equal to or greater than the price becomes irrelevant. Okay? And the price is just proportionate to those key components there. As I said before, more weight on this side equals more money on that side. Very, very simple equation. And again, counter to that, less relationship, credibility, motivation and value, less value or less people will be prepared to invest in your product or service. Okay? And it is all relative. It's all relative. Can you imagine relationship and credibility, motivation and value might be different between industries and different between products and services. Now, if I was going to Hungry Jack's or McDonald's to buy a cheeseburger or whatever it is that you buy from Hungry Jack's and KFC these days, or McDonald's, you'd expect a less level of relationship, credibility, motivation and value in return for a lower price. Okay? Alternatively, if you were going to buy a luxury vehicle, you'd want a high level of relationship, credibility that comes with the brand itself. You know, the motivation there, whatever that intrinsic motivator is, mostly pleasure if it was a luxury vehicle. Or avoiding the pain of looking bad amongst your friends, whatever it could be, you choose. And the value is communicated effectively. Obviously, the higher the price that's you're prepared to pay for it. Okay, so guys, that's just a very basic overview of the sales success formula. Like I said, we'll go through in more depth very, very shortly, and get a sense of how it works specifically to your businesses and your industry.